Hello, hello, friends. Oh my gosh, it's been too long. It's been too long. Hold on, y'all. Let me go and close my office door. Miss Chanel, every time she sees the door closed, she likes to be nosy and come back on in. Get that. Could you try? And Siri's talking to me too, y'all. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. It is January 10th. This is the first shot of vitamin K for 2023. And friends, I am so excited to be here with y'all today. Listen now, I'm fresh faced, okay, because I spent 2 weeks, y'all, 2 weeks with the Queenager, and we were all up and down the place in Europe. We went to London and we went to Amsterdam and spent some time with my cousins, and we went to Berlin and I made it up, and we went to Belgium, excuse me, and we were all over the place in Mons and Brussels, and then we went over to Paris. So it was quite the adventure, and just was a really exciting time. And so, believe it or not, y'all, this was the first time that I have actually taken 2 full weeks off where I wasn't sick and I didn't have a arthritic flare up and I didn't bring my laptop and I just chilled. But friends, I want you to know that on the other side of that, y'all, I woke up in a cold sweat at least 3 times. Okay. I'm talking about I had to call downstairs to the hotel because the sheets are drenched. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I know I forgot something, but I didn't forget anything. So it is so interesting that, like, as much as I talk about and actively practice getting rest, although I will talk about micro rest, and I have a wellness practice, and I tried to build a lot of buffer into my schedule because I'm on the road so much and really focused on the Queenager in her last year of high school. Y'all, I did not realize until I was like in day 4 of my trip that, oh my gosh, I literally do not stop. And I know what y'all gonna say. It's like Captain Obvious. Like, am I the last one to get the memo that I do the most? Yeah. It's totally fine. But it was a life-changing experience. I'm gonna be posting photos on my social. So if you don't follow me on social already, wherever you're watching this from right now, just make sure that you connect with me on your favorite social at Kishshana Palmer. But I'm probably going to be posting in my stories either on Instagram or on Facebook. And so make sure you're connected with me there so you can catch some of the behind the scenes. I made some reels, y'all, but I surely did not post them yet. I'm going to give them to the Queenager to do. But you'll be able to catch some of our highlights from our mother-daughter trip. And it just was a really, really exciting time. I'm going to see if I can find some of the photos we took while we're on this live, and see if I pop up 1 or 2. But we got a lot to cover today. And so I just wanted to bring y'all into what I did over my break. So I would love to know, just if you're watching this later on, because I know my crew likes to watch this in the evening time when your commute's home, etc. Just hit replay and tell me, what'd you do over your break? I'd love to know, because I am always curious about how we're spending our time, whether we're unplugging or we're plugging into family or plugging into ourselves. It's always important to have a practice that you really feel good about. All right, my friends. So today's conversation, I'm going to keep it short and sweet for today because I came back from my 2 weeks, y'all, with a stomach virus. Yes. If I was trying to get to my goal weight, I definitely helped myself along the way over the last couple of weeks because I have been sick as a dog for the last week. I finally dragged myself to the urgent center yesterday morning, and the urgent center doctor was so funny. He was like, well, whatever has gone through you has gone through you. And so I need you to just hydrate and get some rest. So I'm tired, y'all. But other than that, in good spirits. Okay. So there's a lot of exciting things that's going to be happening in the KISHSHANAVERSE this year and on our weekly shot of vitamin K. And this is going to really be all about audience participation because, y'all, as much as I love y'all, talking to myself for 40 minutes And then going back to look at the comments later, is not as exciting as I thought it would be. And I want to make sure that not only do I keep my energy up, but that I keep y'all going up. So I have some questions. So one of my questions is this time the time? You know, I'm always trying to figure out like, what's the right time of day for me to be live every week? Because this is, you know, part lessons, part conversation. I'm going to have guests on. So I'm really leaning more into the show format. You know, what's the time of day where you're grabbing your snacks and you're leaning in? I'm really curious about that. And so as y'all are thinking about it, you know, what's the time of day that you're like, I would be in? Is it coffee? Is it wine? Or is it our lunchtime date that we have been having for the last year? The second thing I'm curious about is what are some of the types of topics you really want me to dig into this year? And so last year I sort of dibbled and dabbled, and I did a lot around management and leadership and getting really specific around how to manage your teams. I did a lot around wellness and really thinking about how to take care of yourselves and others and take care of your teams. And I toe dipped on some areas in diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. And I talked about parenting. So I was able to kind of touch on quite a number of topics and really kind of gauge where interest was and where curiosities lie. And so I'm curious now going into this year, where you all are really curious and want me to be able to kind of dig into more. What do you want to hear more about? What do you want to hear more stories about? What do you want to get some how-tos about? Because if I do a weekly show, I'll spend about 30 minutes with you every week. And when we don't have guests on, because those episodes go to like an hour, we'll be kind of digging in, and it'll be a good supplement to my podcast around content areas and around themes. So this month, I'm going to be really talking about thinking about wellness from a different perspective. I'm going to be with the Leadership Lab with Joan Gary and her amazing community in the month of February, and the January into the month of February, talking about your wellness journey and your practice. I'm going to be talking about love, self-love, and taking care of yourself with a couple really amazing podcasters who are going to be doing some series in February. So I'll have that. I'm going to be talking about, you know, getting these kids out the door when you have older teens and you have older kids. And it's going to be good either for young parents, for folks who have kids who are the same age as a queenager, and those who are now empty nesters who are going to be giving me all the advice. So we have a lot in store. And on the personal end, I'm dating again, y'all. Oh my gosh. And so I'm going to be chronicling that as well. So we need a place to put all this stuff. And so I want to hear from y'all what you want me to talk about more. So that's going to be really important for me. So make sure you weigh in. As you see my posts come up and you see my prompts come up, you know, share, but also comment, because otherwise I'm just, you know, leaving good information out in the world, but y'all are my community. And so really engaging with you is something I care really deeply about. Okay. So when I was writing our end of year report with my team at the beginning of December, I had to really think about, you know, what I wanted our forward focus to be for this year. So our end of year report comes out at the end of this month, our impact report. And in anticipation of that, I typically have a word of the year, which lots of people do. And I was looking back to when I really started talking about my word of the year out loud. And it was in 2017. And I think that's so interesting because it coincides with the year that I started to tumble into one of my hardest years of business. I didn't know it at the time, but it was one of my hardest years of business. And I found that having a word of the year from about January to about my birthday, about May, I was really steadfast in that. But somewhere in August, I started to lose sight of what my word of the year was. And I often would take some of my sister friends and girlfriends to remind me about what my focus was. And so one of my sisters and frequent guests on the show, Rochelle Sadipo, just gave me a beautiful Christmas gift, a one-word journal that allows you to be able to really focus in and get sharp on what your word or phrase is for the able to. So one word journal and prompt. And so for somebody like me who really needs those kind of prompts to journal, this is something that was really exciting. Let me go to the comments and see what I got there. Okay. All right. And so the word of the year for Kishshana & Co. and my personal word of the year and my business word of the year do not always intersect, and they're not always the same, but this year they happen to be the same. And so my word of the year this year is release. And I picked the word release because I noticed as I went through my journal and I went through my workbook over the last year, and each year I'm going into the end of the year, I'll kind of sit down and kind of go through all of my workbooks. This is my workbook starting for 2023 already, where I write my notes. And yes, I'm still very analog, even though I have an iPad and I have digital notes. Y'all, I have all the things, but that's how I kind of get my free flowing thoughts out. And I'm actually writing right now. And so really being able to have a place. Anyway, so I was going through all of my old notes, looking through some of my journal entries, looking at things that I had cared about, and I realized that, I tend to chronicle my mood when I'm writing. And so at the top of every one of my journal page entries, it says my mood. And so what was I thinking about? How was I feeling that day? And y'all, overwhelmingly, my mood was anxious. I wrote anxiety so many times that I had to go back and look through some of my journal entries and go, what the heck was I doing or not doing that I was feeling so darn anxious? Oh, I'm talking about pages after pages after pages. There's 365 in a year, y'all. And I probably have a little bit over 250 journal entries. I don't write every day, y'all, most of the time, but not every day. And almost, I would say more than 50% of my entries where I put my mood said anxious. And so I had to go back and read what was happening during that time where I was feeling all this anxiousness. And I realized that my girlfriends had been telling me, my mom had been telling me, my child had been telling me, it probably should be tattooed. Look, forget my sleeve here. I need to get a tattoo right here that says, stop doing the most. Like people were asking me to slow down and I was just speeding up. And I was like, of course I'm taking more things off my plate, but then I was doing more things and it was causing more and more and more anxiety. And I thought to myself, this has to be the year that I figure out how to do less. But even the idea of doing less sent me into a spin. Y'all, have you ever had a bunch of stuff on your desk and you reach for something, knocked everything over, everything fell on the floor, and you don't know where to start picking stuff up again, to put things back? You had just had it. It was your pile. It was in order. And now you got to go back and figure this out. Friends, that's how it felt when I tried to do less. I almost did not take the Queenager on our end of year adventure because I was like, oh my gosh, but what am I going to do about work these 2 weeks when nobody's going to be bothering me, when nobody's going to call me, when nobody's going to be on the phone, on email? This is my time, right? I had to start thinking about things differently because it was stirring me up even worse. It had the exact, hold on, y'all, I'm still here. It had the exact opposite effect of what it intended for me to think about doing less. But not one to be thwarted by my own foolishness, I went back to the lab. And a lot of times, y'all, we got to go back to the lab, right? Because we can talk ourselves off, on, around the ledge. Oh, look at him. Listen, one of my number one fans, and I'm her number one fan, my line sister, founder of the Glow Code. Hey, Nikki. Thank you on the relaunch. I appreciate it. I'm going to share it with folks in a minute. So I had to come at this a different way, y'all. I had to think about, how do I do less? What does doing less even mean? Why do I care about doing less? What does that look like? And I realized, and it came to me, y'all, it came to me in my favorite place. I have two places, y'all. I have two favorites, but it came to me in my dry land favorite place. Y'all know what it is. My shoe closet. So I was in my shoe closet and I was doing what I like to do when I need to think, reorganizing my shoes. And I realized that I have all these beautiful things, but I keep collecting more things because I don't have enough things. But I have all these beautiful things. So I keep collecting more things because I don't have enough things. And I was like, I am trying to fill a hole. Holy crap. I run to my bedroom. I get out my journal because I have to put this down for when I talk to my therapist, okay? And I got to pray on this. So I got things to do, but I wrote it down. And I realized that I have been holding on to stuff. So y'all know in 2022, I did a big closet sale. I did mystery boxes, and thank you to everybody who supported that work. So I was able to give a nice gift to Just for Success. I did all of this stuff to kind of give away, but the giveaway wasn't satisfying. The selling it wasn't satisfying. And I realized I needed to think about it a little bit differently. And the word that came to me, it started to bubble when I was in my closet, but the evening when I was taking my shower, it came to me crystal clear that I needed to release. Hey, Irene. Hey, I owe you a note, friend, that I needed to release. And so I was talking with my sister friend, Rochelle, again, that's my sister. I talk to her all the time. And we were laughing out loud because we are so sick. She's a June Gemini, I'm a May Gemini, and we are like two sides of the same coin. So all the time, our words are the same. If she's feeling something, I'm going to feel it next week. If I'm feeling something, she's going to feel it next week. It's been like that since the day we met. And I said, tell her this word I was thinking, and she said, oh, crap, me too. And I said, here we are again. And the word release is so powerful because when I think of releasing something, I don't think of the letting go process as hard, as something where you have to like pry it out your hands. I think of the release as something sort of like letting go, like kind of falling off the hand, right? And so I realized that I was fighting to hold on to goals that I'm not really sure ever made sense and definitely do not make sense now. I was holding on to a relationship destination that I wasn't even in the car on the road to. GPS broken, not even in the car in the shop, right? I was holding on to ideas about what my business should look like, what I should be doing, all of the shoulds. And these shoulds were not making me happy. And I wondered, was happiness going to be something that was always sort of elusive and out of reach? And the answer is no. You know, I have quite a number of girlfriends who are amazing coaches, intuitives, who have been sharing messages around joy and around happiness and around, really discovering your true center. And I've been really leaning into those messages because every teacher needs to be taught. And the thing that kept coming back is, what if I just start to learn to release valve on anger, release valve on expectations that I put on myself. And then when I do not meet my own expectations, the punishment that I put myself through would make you shake in your boots. And so I said, coming into a new calendar year, where I'm in the middle of client work, I'm in the middle of growing my staff. My staff is in the middle of launching new stuff. We're launching a new website I'm going to share with y'all. I'm really thinking about how to position Kishshana & Co. for what's coming next so we can serve more people, because more is a part of my DNA, y'all. I've decided, But how do we do that in a way that releases the things that didn't work? The things that actually were not meant for me, the things that were other people's things that I took on because I thought that's what I'm supposed to do. My life is supposed to look like this. My business is supposed to look like this. My kid is supposed to act like this. She's supposed to go to these schools. We're supposed to have these things. My savings supposed to look like this. I'm a woman of a certain age, so I'm supposed to do. The supposes were just wearing me out. And when I started to create my list of commitments to myself for this year, number one, I realized it was too long. And so I started to think about how to make commitments that we will actually keep, not just for the new year, but for each season of your life. And the things that came back to me are things that I teach all the time and I think about all the time and my mom talks to me about all the time. Number one, really making sure that you are rooted in your values. And I'm making a note to myself because I know I'm going to come back to this again. And the reason that values to me is such an important, not just a word, it is also a verb. It is the thing that we have to be able to act on. It's because it really is your calling card. Who you are, how you show up in the world, what you believe, what you care about, what you fall on the sword for. And many of us have gotten caught up in admiring what we believe are other people's values. And I am not immune to that. And so we lose sight of really being clear about what our values are, even if our values aren't popular, even if they're contrarian. Like, do we have the things that we really believe in that we build our lives around? And so I think being able to start to make commitments that you don't want to run away from starts with having a clear sense of what your values are, what you feel really, really honored to do every day, and what you really care about, even when no one is looking. And for me, I think that was one of my like end of year consistent, I said it, I mean it, I'm living it. What are your values? So, in thinking about making commitments that you're actually going to keep, the thing I want you to have front and center is clarity around your values. And that shows up in all aspects of our life, y'all. I am not probably not the first person to say it. I'm definitely not going to be the last. But if you keep hearing a thing, if you're like, gosh, this is the 5th time this week I've heard or read something about values, and it's only Tuesday, then let that be a lesson and a sign, y'all, that you got to get on it. Okay. The next thing that I'm thinking about that I think is really important when you can finally start making commitments you will keep is to try to quiet the noise of the failure you think you're going to have in those commitments. Let me give you an example. I knew that in order for me to start to best having these arthritic flare-ups and inflammatory flare-ups, I was going to have to change my diet. I was going to have to change how I looked at food. I was going to have to get help doing that. I was going to have to stay at it. And y'all, I have felt discouraged at a high point where people will see me on the street and be like, oh, she out here just the cutest of the cute. Yes. And on the inside, I felt like, oh my gosh, I am failing. I am not winning this thing. And I realized that the pressure I was putting on myself was a level of competition that just wasn't healthy. And who was I competing with anyway? And so one of the things that I had to think really critically about coming into this year as I think about the commitments I'm making for myself is less about doing it for the win and more about doing it for the joy. So I'm an outcomes person, y'all. Some people are process people. Some people are people. Some people are outcomes people. I just want to get the results. What are the results? What is the result? If you've ever worked with me, you know that I'm like, okay, so how do we get to the end? That's what I would like to understand. And I realized, y'all, in my rush to get to the end, I didn't slow down enough to understand and to enjoy the process. And because I wasn't slowing down enough to enjoy the process, then I wasn't recognizing where in the process were there little fissures and cracks, or were there places where I needed additional support, or were there moments where I just needed to pause for a minute and just revel in it or start again. I'm just rushing to get to the result. And so I'm not giving myself the time to actually enjoy the process to get to the outcome that I'm seeking for myself, which means that even if I get to that outcome, I'm going to look back and be like, no, wait a minute. Wait a minute. How'd I get here? Y'all, we're doing a disservice to ourselves when we are rushing through the commitments that we're making to ourselves. And so the second thing, in an effort to finally make commitments that you want to keep, is to enjoy the process, the ups, the downs, etc. Now, I'm giving you real deal Holyfield. We are in week 2 of the year of our Lord 2023. And so the place where this is going to be pressure tested for all to see, because I do write about it, and I will be writing about it every week again, is in my dating life. Oh my gosh. I have not mastered business, I want you to know, but I am building a company that I feel very proud of. I have team members who I love dearly and who are doing the darn thing in their work. And I continue to invite new folks into the Kishshana & Co family every day. I have the best clients. Even when everybody gets on my nerves, even when I get on their nerves, everything in between. I love what I do. I love the trainers that I've hired. I love my coaches that I've hired. I love my crew. But on a personal note, I have wonderful friends, period. Great family, full stop. about this love life, y'all. I have tried all the things. Okay. I've asked y'all to set me up. I have gone on to the Twitters, the Tinders, the Bumbles, the Hinges. Today I was looking at eHarmony. I decided I had enough. Okay, we spent enough money, so now I got to, as my coach tells me, I have to get down to two that I'm going to focus on. I've met some really great people, and I have had to decide that I'm going to open myself up to the possibility for love, right? And the potential pain of missing the mark, and to be unafraid to experience all of that, which means I've got to slow down enough to enjoy the process. And so, in order to make the commitment to myself that this year I will focus on ensuring that I have a love life that I care about, that I feel proud of, that I'm enjoying, that I can laugh in, that I can wear my fancy and pretty clothes and high heels, that I will meet gentlemen who are excited to be in my company and to show me aspects of the world that I haven't seen before. Those things are true, and I have to be willing to enjoy the process, which is going to have some trolls and some frogs, but also, I hope, some princes. And so that's a real-time example for me, y'all, of being able to commit to myself so that I don't get to my birthday, which is my halfway point, and go, you know what, to hell with this. I'm about to have a hot girl summer. I'm just going to be outside. I don't have time for this. How many of us have done that? I'm going to focus on my business. I'm going to focus on my job. I'm going to focus on my kids. Because the idea of really being invested in the process is scary, and it is risky. And there are other things we can spend our time on that do not feel as risky. And so I am committing to enjoying the process so that I can stay with it regardless of the outcome, because I believe that that will help me to make a commitment, really focus on love this year, that I actually want to keep. The third thing, and I'm going to leave y'all with this one because I have about 5 things, but I only want to focus on 3 for today because listen, it's early for some of us, and for some of us, we're like, we need to get our lunch sandwiches. The third thing is around accountability. So early last year, I started working with an organization that was going through some really tough change management, and was having a really hard time with their culture and having some really heavy conversations around equity and how folks were treated. And so my team and we went in to start facilitating some conversations and to start helping set up some systems and some operating norms so that they could start to find their way to some healthier ways of being as an organization. And one of the things that I talked a lot about was around accountability. Now, for many of us, and depending on when you came into the workforce, we hear the word accountable, whether it's in your work life or your personal life. And what do y'all want to do? Run for the hills, right? Because you're like, I don't want you in my business looking at me and what I'm trying to do with my life and my stuff. I am grown. I am a professional. I know what I'm doing. How many of us have had that kind of reaction when folks talk about holding us accountable or accountability? And so in this particular organization, this idea about accountability made people just squeeze their butt cheeks. Okay, everybody, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be held accountable. They felt like they were being, basically put on the chopping block. And so I asked the team, a small subset of team members I was working with one day, to think about accountability a little bit differently, and to think about accountability as someone caring enough about you to hold up the light for you so you could see what you're doing. Like, hello? Somebody's like, let me just hold this flashlight so you can limit. Have you ever lost something underneath the chair, y'all, at the restaurant, and you got to slide underneath and you got to get your cell phone and somebody needs to hold the light so you can see where you dropped the thing? What if we thought about accountability like that? That someone is actually holding a light so that we can see what we're doing. That they care enough about us to ensure that we actually get it right. And that we can look back and go, oh, somebody's there to help me if I have a question, if I need help, if I need somebody to double check what I'm doing, just to say, I'm still here so that you can keep going. And so the third thing in being able to make commitments to yourself that you actually will keep this year is in really identifying who is going to be your accountability partner or who is going to be in your accountability crew for the year. And it may be different than the folks who were in your accountability crew last year. You may got to change things up. I had the same prayer partner for about 5 years. And my prayer partner in this season of her life is doing something completely different. And she is not my primary prayer partner, even though we pray for one another all the time. I have a different prayer partner in this time in my life. And does it mean that if I needed to pick up the phone and call her to pray, she would drop everything right now? Then let's get to it. But there's a different level of accountability, holding the light up so you can see what you're doing, that is needed in her life and is needed in my life at this time, that we don't provide for each other in the same way, but we're still able to get from other folks who can in that time. And so who is in your accountability crew? Who's holding up the light for you so that you can see what you're doing in this year? So I think those 3 things to focus on: really getting clear and refining and just double clicking on your values and what matters to you when no one's looking. Really making sure that you enjoy the process of the goals you set for yourself for this next year, maybe this next quarter, for the things that you are going to do to put one foot in front of the other. And then really rounding up your 2023 accountability crew. Folks who will hold up the light for you so you can see what you're doing, and so that you know when you look back, there's somebody there so that you can keep going when things are hard. I think those things are really important and can really help us start to find our way to being able to make commitments to ourselves, finally, that we can keep. All right, y'all, that's what I've got for today. But before I go, listen, y'all, I don't know if you've been following me across the LinkedIns and the Twitters and the Instagrams and Facebooks, but I am doing something different, a whole new thing. Y'all, I've been talking about this for years, and my team finally said, Ratchet Snatcher, we are getting it together. But I want you all to go to www.KISHSHANAPalmer.com. Y'all, in just 2 days, we are finally going live on my personal brand and website. I've been growing Kishshana & Co. since 2013. Yowza, y'all, long time. And we're going to be making some changes around the halls of KCO Inc. And one of those things is being able to have me step out as CEO. There are some things that we're going to be working on as a company, and being able to focus just on you. Kishshana & Co. focuses on you, your team, your organization, your company. But I, Kishshana Palmer, am going to be focusing on you. And so I'm so excited for this new offering and this new opportunity, for this new home for me, so that I can be my own person, that I can write. These thoughts are actually my own. And my company is going to continue to grow and continue to offer the services we do around management and leadership work. And I'm just really excited. So if you haven't gone and checked it out yet, it's a coming soon. We launch in 2 days. I'm so excited. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend, because it is going to be an exciting adventure, an exciting time. And the writing that I'm putting out now, I finally got my mojo back, and being able to really start to talk to y'all about leading the life you love, having a career that you love, and what does it mean to be healthy AF? You know, I am a lady of a certain age, and so I'm going to be talking to my contemporaries. Hello, whether you are a new mom, whether you are an auntie, whether you are about to be an empty nester or something in between, there's going to be a lot for us to talk about in the KISHSHANAVERSE, and we'll be rolling out all types of goodies. I'm so excited about that, y'all. And I know having a new website ain't really a big deal, y'all, but it's not about the home of KISHSHANAPalmer.com. It's about the fact that I have a home now for you and for the personal work that you want to do, not just your organizational life, but your personal life. So I'm really, really excited about that. All right, y'all, it is time for me to get out of here. I am just so excited that I have been able to just spend some time with y'all today. Please make sure you check out my site, sign up for the K-Train, which is going to be my new monthly newsletter. We're going to have so much exciting stuff to share as I continue to put out new and inspiring work. Finally, it has been a couple of years, y'all, since I've really felt good about the writing that I'm doing, and there's going to be more video content and really streamlining my thoughts so that you all are able to lead the lives you love. You're able to have the career or businesses that you love, and you're able to be healthy AF. So I'm just really, really, really excited about that. All right, y'all. So I just want to thank y'all for hanging out with me. I'm going to drop a little ditty for the end of the show, and I will see y'all real soon.